Everywhere but Publix.
That's so
Well,
odd.
Publix on 12 Oaks has a great selection of kombucha. The 12 Oaks Publix.
Well, let me
Yeah,
clarify. They have
yeah.
other brands, but they don't they don't have the kombucha that I like. They have some others that I've
okay.
tried and I didn't like those. So that's why we're going to make our own. That's the one that brand right there.
That's
It's
the
my
best.
favorite.
Yeah.
I love GPS. Yeah. Gingerade, especially.
My favorite.
Yeah. Let me see if I have this is when I buy it, that's my favorite. Cayenne. I guess that's how you say it. Cayenne. Cayenne is a little spicy. All right. So, so this will be fun. So we're going to start at the very beginning. Some of you I know, I already got you your list of, what you need to make your first batch. I have included that in the chat, you guys. There's a couple, I think there's two. Is there one thing or just one? Yeah, that might be the only thing. Yeah, that's the only thing I've put in there so far. But you might want to, copy that or click on it now and save it to your computer. But I am going to also put all of these things, any graphics I'm talking about, anything, links. I've already put some things in the actual event, the Kombucha and Community event that I created on Facebook. So you can go there, or anything that you want to ask me about, I would be happy to send you. I have. So we're going to start at the very beginning. So first of all, I know all of you probably know this, but we're gonna just go from square one. So what is kombucha? So does anybody know? It's a fizzy what? Fermented. That's the big thing, right? A fizzy fermented full of gut-loving probiotics. That is what we love about it. And it's made from fermented tea. It's so easy. And the fermentation, what does fermentation mean? Well, just like anything that is fermented, fermentation is bacteria and yeast eating up sugar to produce acids or gases or alcohol, of which all three are included in kombucha. So, so the first thing that you will need is a SCOBY. And a SCOBY, I should probably wash my hands and take mine out. But a SCOBY, guess what? Guess what SCOBY stands for? Does anybody know? It's really great. It's easy to remember. Symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. That's all it is. All right, so I'm gonna wash my hands really well because you guys, what's really, really important is that you do not get any bacteria on the SCOBY that is not already, it's not supposed to be there. Okay, so first I want to show you my SCOBY hotel. So this is where all of my extra SCOBYs go. Can live in there with liquid, and we'll talk about that. But so for those of you, you don't see it in the chat, Marguerite? That's weird. Huh?
Yeah, there's something about Zoom. I think that if you join late, like after you put it in, does everybody else see it but me?
Do you guys all see it or no? Well, let me put it in again. Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
I don't see it either. Maybe make sure you did it to everyone.
I did, but I think what Marguerite is saying is true. I think because I put it in before you guys were here. Here, I'm just going to do it again.
Yeah, she had said that she put the thing in chat, like the instructions or whatever.
There, do you see it now? Oh, that was just Marguerite. Whoops. Let me do that again.
Thanks for that personal message, Sherry.
Of course, I knew you really wanted that. Oh my gosh, my cursor isn't. Marguerite, can you share it with everyone, please?
Sure.
Thank you. I'm having trouble. I didn't bring out my mouse and my cursor is not working. Okay. So the SCOBY, there's lots of ways that you can get a SCOBY. You need a SCOBY. That's the most important thing to make your kombucha. You can buy a SCOBY. You can buy a SCOBY. They're all over the place. If you Google search, you can buy a SCOBY. But the best thing is to get it from someone you know, so you know that it's come from a good home, because it is a living thing. So, so I do have some, and I know that Jen and Kara have already claimed 2 of them. I can't remember, Norma, if you asked me for one. I can't remember, but I have about 5. So, so if you're local and you would like one, just arrange with me to come by and get it. But this is the fun part. I had never done this before. You can make your own SCOBY, and it's so easy. It just takes time. I already did one. And darn it if I didn't put it in my SCOBY hotel. But I'm going to show you. I did. Mary, you didn't see my SCOBY. I'll show you in a minute. So, oh, this is a really, really ugly one. I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Well, that's not ugly. No, I think this might be the one. Okay. Can you see it? Isn't it gorgeous? It's gorgeous. Yeah. But see, when you leave it in too long, it'll start growing another SCOBY. Whenever you put them in, that's why it keeps growing. They keep multiplying. And you can, and probably should, like I tried to take it off and then it wouldn't come off and I got nervous I was going to tear it, so I stopped. But you can separate, they're layered, right? So that is a SCOBY. But and I grew that myself. So first let's talk about how you would make your own SCOBY. Gotta cover it up so no critters get in. All right, so it's so super easy. All right, someone, if you would like to write this down in the chat, welcome, but I will send you all this information. To make your own SCOBY, all you need is, 7 cups of water, a half a cup of sugar, and 4 bags of black tea. And we're going to talk about tea in a minute, the types of tea you can use, but for now we'll just call it black tea because that's the most generic and we know that that's fine. You are going to make some sweet tea with that, all right? And the same goes to with the first fermentation and the second fermentation. So just remember all the rules. What you want to do is you want it to steep for at least 20 minutes. I usually steep mine a little bit longer and you'll learn how strong you like your kombucha. I like mine a little bit stronger. So, so you will first make your sweet tea. You'll boil your water. You'll turn turn off the burner, put in your tea bags, put in your sugar, and let it steep 20 to 30 minutes. Then you can take out your tea bags if you want, and of course stir your sugar up. Then you need to let it sit until it is at least room temperature. You do not want hot tea. That will kill the SCOBY. So it cannot be hot. Better to actually, definitely have it room temperature and, just let it sit out. Sometimes I just let it sit for a while. Then you're going to put all of that. So what supplies do you need? And that's in my thing. You need, well, like these. Here, Mary didn't get a chance to see my SCOBY hotel. I want her to see my SCOBY hotel.
It's wonderful.
Look at those beautiful SCOBYs. Aren't they lovely?
So you don't put the top on it. You just put a cloth on top.
That's right. And that's really important because you want it to breathe. You don't want it to be closed up. You want it to breathe. But I learned something. I had read that you can use cheesecloth, and I tried cheesecloth, and I don't think it's thick enough. I think that I saw fruit flies on top of it, and I was like, no, we're going with this. So just get a big old rubber band and some kind of porous cotton cloth. If you use the link, or if you just go to Amazon, I provided a link in that thing, and I love what they do. It's made for kombucha. They send you, the cheapest way to get it is in 2s. And actually, I think that's smart because you probably will need another one for a different fermentation. And you can buy 2 of these, and it comes with the top if you would ever want it. But it also comes, see, this was one that I bought from Amazon. See, it comes with a really nice cloth top, and it comes with the rubber band. So, once you have cooled it down, you're gonna put it in a 1 quart or more, but at least, I mean, not 1 quart. Did I say that? 1 gallon, 1 gallon or more. You can see, you'll see over here, I have like a mammoth one over here because I like to make a lot of kombucha. This, for me, doesn't make enough. Like, you know, you wait for it for a week to 2 weeks, and then you get maybe, I don't know, 6 to 8 servings, but that doesn't last until the next one is done. So I need to always have some extra. So you put your tea in there, and then you add 1 cup? Wait, yep, 1 cup of kombucha. Now, it has to be raw, and it has to be original, no flavoring. This is just how you make your own SCOBY. We're not even talking about kombucha yet. We're just talking about making your first SCOBY if you don't have one, okay? That's what we're talking about right now. So it's really, really easy. You just add that to it. You put the little thing on the top, and it can take up to 4 weeks, at least 1 week. So this is going to be the longest process, making your own SCOBY. That's why a lot of people just like to get their SCOBY from someone, because it is a process. But then you just put your top on and you wait. And I wanted to show you this one. Let's see, 9/17. 9/17. Is that like 10, almost 10 days? Almost. So this is 9 days old. So this is me making another SCOBY. And I don't know, can you see it's starting to form at the top? Oh, but it's not thick at all. This is 10 days, right? 9/17? Yeah. This is 9 days. So this process is going to take at least 2 weeks. And I've got to tell you, I feel like my kitchen is warm. I feel like, and everyone, you will learn how some depending on the room temperature and the darkness, we'll go into all that stuff, but you will learn how fast yours ferments, and it's different for all of us. So I feel like mine ferments fast. So if I'm a fast fermenter and this is almost 2 weeks, you know that, you know, it's going to take you a while to get your SCOBY. Okay, so let's pretend. Any questions so far about SCOBY?
I have a question.
Yes.
When you say sugar, I'm assuming this is
Yes.
white sugar. Can it be cane sugar? Can it be?
I'm so glad you asked that. So let's just talk about that for a minute. Let me first talk about tea. I just got this at Whole Foods. Okay. I do like to get organic. I have only ever used black tea because my daughter told me I should. And I listened to my daughter. But in reading about it, they say, the kombucha people, the experts, and I'm going to try this at some point, they say that you can use green tea, oolong tea, white tea, and just 2 different, usually you want to stay completely away from herbal teas. You do not want to do anything decaf. But they say that rooibos and hibiscus are okay. Personally, I would not venture into that in your first, second, or third fermentation. Yes, Mary?
What about yerba mate?
Yerba mate? That is
Yeah.
not, that, I love yerba mate, by the way, but that I don't think is officially called, that's a really good question, Mary. And I think I would go look into that, but I would definitely not make that your first fermentation.
It does have, I know it does have caffeine. It does have caffeine.
It does, you're right, it does. It has naturally occurring caffeine, which I believe might be a little bit different. I'm not sure. I would not, especially when you're making your SCOBY, I would just do black tea for the first thing. just so you get a really good, because I think the other ones can make, you know, lighter versions. They can alter the flavors and stuff. So you might want to do that as you get a little advanced. So Mary, after you have a few rounds going, I mean, why not? You could try it. Just make sure at that point you'll probably have an extra SCOBY or two. So make sure you always use the same SCOBY for the same type of tea. So if you're going to do a yerba mate trial, that's going to be your yerba mate SCOBY, and you're going to keep that separate. Okay, so don't mix and mingle the teas that you brew with. Okay, now, and sorry, Norma, that was a long way to get around to the sugar. Okay, so you need cane sugar. Now I use this raw organic cane sugar. However, when I've been looking around, they actually say that white table sugar is really just fine. So that's really up to you. Definitely no honey in the first fermentation. Definitely no honey. It's sugar, sugar, sugar. White table sugar is really, especially for your SCOBY making, you must use sugar. Then later you can experiment. But this is just what I get. But I think just plain white sugar would be okay. You know, any kind of, you don't want, you know, like coconut sugar or something different. You just want.
So no maple syrup either?
Not during, now, you can use maple syrup during your second fermentation. But, and some people even say once you've got it going, you could try that. But really, it's the sugar that does the trick. It's the sugar in the bacteria. I mean, that's what happens.
Okay.
Wait, I wrote this down somewhere. I thought I did.
So you got your organic raw sugar at like Whole Foods or something?
I did. I actually got mine on Amazon because I got a humongous bag.
Okay.
And it has served me well because you'll go through it. If you do this on a regular basis, you're going to go through that sugar.
Okay.
So, yeah, and that's in the link too. That's in the document that I sent you. I'm trying to find the place where I read about sugar. Okay, here. So sugar plays the integral role in feeding the yeast, which transforms it into ethanol. The bacteria feed on this ethanol, turning it into acidity and giving kombucha its distinctively sour taste. So which sugar is best? This person says white table sugar. This is simply pure white sugar made from either cane or beets. It's our favorite sugar for brewing kombucha for its predictability and consistency. Then you've got organic cane juice crystals is her second choice. For the folks who prefer organic sugars, this unbleached sugar does the job while also having trace amounts of minerals, unlike the white table sugar, which has no minerals in it, right?
Yeah.
I would say for your first one, oh, I'm sorry, boy, that our home phone never rings. And of course, for your first one, I would just really go with the white sugar. And then once you have your SCOBY, you can play around. You can play around and do whatever you want. Now, she says raw or whole cane sugar recommended with reservation. It's less refined and can be hard on your SCOBY, but a lot of brewers do like to use it. And then it says sweeteners to avoid: brown sugar, honey, agave, maple, coconut sugar, palm sugar, powdered sugar, or any sugar-free substitute. Okay? Does that answer your question?
Good.
Good. Okay. So, so we've already talked about how to make a SCOBY. So let's pretend that you've made your SCOBY and you have a SCOBY. So what you're going to do for your first fermentation is the first thing you always do is empty the jar. What I mean by that is you're going to take your SCOBY out like I did before. Oh, Marissa's here. Oh, good, Jen. Marissa's here. So excited. First, you're gonna, oh, yay! You're going to take your SCOBY out and put it on a plate, okay? You're gonna take it out. Hands clean, can't emphasize enough. And put it on a plate so you just have the kombucha in there, the juice from the original fermentation. You're going to, depending on how you want to do it, you're going to leave 2 cups of the original, what you just made. You're going to leave 2 cups in there. Some people, when I started, I heard 1/4 cup. I don't know. So you guys, I just want to introduce you to Marissa, who just joined us, because I want her to feel free. Marissa, please feel free to chime in. Marissa is a kombucha expert.
Oh
She
my
is a
gosh, wow, thanks. I don't feel like an expert, but I love that title. Thank you very much.
You're a kombucha expert. So I want, if you guys pick her brain, she knows more than me. So Marissa, feel free to correct me or to add anything to what I'm saying, okay?
Okay, okay.
I'm so glad you're here. So you're going to take the SCOBY out, leave 1/4 cup to 2 cups. I just like to leave 2 cups just to make sure the SCOBY is going to be covered and all as well. Then you're going to make another round. You already know how to do this, but this time it's a little bit different measurements. Okay, you ready? You're going to want, well, and actually, honestly, I double this because like you see, I mean, I've got a humongo jar. I want a lot. So you can do whatever, but 14 cups of water, 1 cup of sugar, you're basically just doubling what you did. 1 cup of sugar, 8 tea bags. Okay? So you're going to do the exact same thing that we said before. First, you're going to boil the water, turn it off. Put the tea bags in and the sugar, let it steep for at least 20 to 30 minutes. Then you're going to take the tea bags out whenever you decide it's time, and you're going to let it sit to room temperature. Then you've got 2 cups in here, right? Well, yeah, you've got the 2 cups of the old mixture. So you're going to pour out the mixture that was originally in with your SCOBY. That's what's going to make your kombucha. So you pour out everything but the 2 cups, and you leave the 2 cups in there, and then you add that whole tea that you just made to that 2 cups of the old batch. Then you put your SCOBY back in and you cover it up, and then you're gonna let that go again. And that's gonna go for about 6 to 14 days. Again, it depends on your house. The most important thing is that your room is the right temperature. So it needs to be between 60 and 85 degrees. So like if you live in a really, really cold climate, you need to find a warm place. I put mine actually in my, what's it called? Not my closet, the place where I keep all my vegetables and stuff. And they're on the bottom, and I can actually close the door so it's really dark and it stays nice and warm. And darkness is really important. It has to be away from sunlight. So you don't want it to be like right where the sun shines on it. Put it in a corner or put it in a closet or something like that. And keep it away from contaminants. So you don't want it to be near your garbage can. You don't want it to be near your garbage disposal or your compost. Or if you are actually fermenting something else like kimchi or something like that, it shouldn't be near that. It needs to have its own little space. Okay, so there you go. Now you've got another fermentation going. All right, so you've got, is that clear? So you've got your 2 cups of the old thing that you just made with your SCOBY. You put the SCOBY back in and you put all that tea, about 14 cups of tea in there. And then you're gonna cover it up, nice cloth covering and your rubber band, and put it away for 6 to 14 days. Yes, Marguerite,
Okay, so,
or Mary, I
yeah,
can't see.
so just to be clear, so when you pour it out and just leave the 2 cups in, what you've poured out is drinkable?
Yes. So we're about to go into that. It
Okay.
should be. And you know, you guys, you can test it along the way. What I do is like, I really don't, you shouldn't be opening and closing it every day for sure. Give it at least 7 days before you even enter in, right? But then if you're really anxious, like I get to be sometimes, and I want to just see what, you know, what does it taste like? Is it fizzy yet? Oh, we've got someone else here. Good, good. I take a straw and I just kind of put it down into the liquid and, you know, have my finger on the straw, and then I bring it up, and then it holds the liquid, right? And then I just taste it. And if you like the way it tastes, so what the outcome is, you want it to be carbonated a little bit. You want it to be fizzy. You don't want it to be sweet anymore. It should not taste like sweet tea. It should have a little bit of that sour. Well, you know, you all are kombucha drinkers. You know what it's supposed to taste like, right? So just test it out and just see how fizzy. And I have a question for Marissa at the end, because my first batch, now it's getting better, but my first batch was very sour. Maybe I left it too long, or maybe it was almost bitter. But I'm also thinking that when you get a new SCOBY, does it need to stay longer, like to develop a new home or something?
No, actually. So I think, was it like a vinegary taste?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was probably too long. I think 7 days is as long. So I also wanted to comment on the temperature. I know a lot of people grow mold typically over the winter because they say cold grows mold, and that's like the kombucha mold rhyme and the little limerick. But they say optimal temperature is between 75 and 82 degrees. So it's really hard to keep that temperature over the winter. So I'm actually looking at different things that I can do to maintain that temperature. I keep mine in like the top part of my cabinets in my kitchen above my refrigerator. You want to keep like away from windows and things like that. But yeah, so, but 7 days, if it's in that optimal temperature of 75 to 82 degrees, 7 days is probably perfect.
That sounds great. Thank you. Yeah, I think, and like I said, I think my house is warm. I think I grow fast. So I personally, I think I waited too long. I think I probably went 10 days and it was just like, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And I've noticed that if I go, when I have people over, I don't really notice, but like my dad is very vocal about his opinions, and he was like, this one, I don't like this one as much as the other one. And it happened to be another batch that I let sit for almost 9 days as compared to my normal 7, and he could tell a difference. So
wow.
Yeah.
That's great advice. And I'm so glad you brought up mold, because that is something that you have to watch for. It's very common. So just watch for it. If your SCOBY starts getting moldy, you need to throw it away. You can't fix it. You can't. So you just, and there are tons of pictures. I'm actually, well, not in here, I'm not, but I will either send you all an email with all these links and all this information, or it'll be posted in the Facebook event. But there's a wonderful Facebook group called Kick-Ass Kombucha, I think, and that they are great. Oh, they're so great. And she actually, there's people talking about it all the time, and they're taking pictures of their SCOBY going, is this moldy? And she has a whole thing, all these visuals of what moldy SCOBY looks like. Because SCOBY is kind of like a funny looking thing, right? It's hard to really know when it's moldy because it's odd looking in its best form. So, but she shows you, and it is important for you to identify if you're growing mold. So that's important. And thank you. I've never heard that, cold grows mold. I like that. That's a good way to remember. And I would have thought that heat did that, but it's kind of interesting. So, okay. So yes, so now we've just put away our another first fermentation over there, right? but now you've got all this luscious, you've just dumped out. I don't know how much is left. I'm not doing the math right now. I guess about 12 cups, if I'm doing the math correctly, of fizzy. Now, a lot of people stop there and they just drink it like that. And that's great. It's delicious. It's probably going to be a little more vinegary and sour. It might not be as fizzy as you like it. So to make it more fizzy and to add some flavoring, you do a second fermentation. So you can either choose to like bottle it now. And oh, by the way, and honestly, I'd love Marissa's opinion on this too. When my daughter taught me this, I never knew any of this. And I did this for a year and I was fine. I bottled it in old bottles. I keep all my old kombucha bottles and they were fine. I didn't know any better and they were fine. And it fermented and it fizzed. And I'll tell you what you can do to add to it. But this, you know, kombucha, all these kombucha people online said to, oh, well, I thought I had, okay, well, I already have, said to buy things like this, right? So you really have that seal. The thing about the second fermentation is you do want to close it up, right? You want to close it up tight. I opened one of these this morning and it goes, the fizz like comes out. I'm like, ah! So there are tricks, and this is so good to know. There are tricks. Well, first, I'm getting ahead of myself. What's the second fermentation? So you want to flavor it. So there's tons of recipes out there. Very loosely, in general, this is what you can do. You can take 4 cups, which if my math is doing it right, that means there's going to be 3 different variations if you want to, or you can do all the same flavoring. But I think there should be about 12 cups of your fermented kombucha that you've just made, right? So take 4 cups of that, and you add maybe a half a cup of, and you can be so creative, you can do anything, of chopped fruit, right? You can put some chopped fruit in it, and then, ooh, maybe a quarter of a cup of mashed fruit or fruit juice. And then some people, I have never, ever, ever added a sweetener to my kombucha, never. But I know that all these recipes I'm looking at say that that's when you can add honey, you can add something if that's how you like it. Some people say stevia, whatever. I don't. I didn't even know that was a thing. But Marissa, do you add a sweetener when you do your second fermentation?
Well, Sherry, you might not have to because of the temperature in your house. So the warmer it is, the more carbonated you'll get. Also, the sweeter the fruit or the juice that you put in it, the more carbonated you'll get. So for me, I usually will sweeten with ginger or mint, and that's not very sweet.
Right.
So putting just a tablespoon of, I do like a tablespoon of cane sugar, gives my like second fermentation bubbles like a whole new attitude. It's really kind of crazy, the difference. But yeah.
And that, would you put a tablespoon of sugar in that 4 cups or in the whole thing or in a bottle?
So my flip top bottles are 2 liters each, and I have 4 of those flip top bottles. So 2 liters, I think, is that 1 gallon it's about 1 gallon, I think. So I'm not sure. I'm sorry I'm making you do math.
I'm not,
But yeah, I think 1 gallon is about 2 liters. So I do a tablespoon.
1 gallon is 3.8 liters.
1 gallon is 3.8
1 gallon.
liters.
So 1 quart is 0.95. So we're talking about 2 quarts. So about a half a gallon would probably be closer to 2
liters. You're probably right. Yes. Okay. So I do 1 tablespoon of cane sugar for every 2 liters. So about a half a gallon. But interestingly enough, I don't need to use that if I add like squeezed lime or lemon. Yeah.
Isn't that funny? And that's sour. But the fruit juice, what you said, is one, what the sugar does and what the juice from the fruit does is it makes it ferments more.
Yes,
will make
and
it more
the
carbonate,
sugar,
right?
yeah, the fructose is way more powerful in terms of creating bubbles than sugar is. So, yeah, so it's really kind of interesting and fun to see like how it works for you. But yeah, I would definitely recommend, and you don't need a lot of juice. I think I'd probably do like half a cup of lemon juice. Lemon or lime is usually my favorite to go with mint or ginger, but
Yes.
but yeah, it's so good. I know.
I know. I love it. My go-to is the lemon and the ginger and cayenne. I put cayenne pepper in it because I like the spice. But I love that. But absolutely, you can play around with your fruit juice and your fruits, and the more smashed your fruits are, the more it will fuzz. The more it will like carbonate and it'll react. Like if you have whole fruit in there, like a whole blueberry and a whole strawberry, it still will be delicious and it still will flavor it, but it won't get quite as fizzy, and you won't have access to as much of that fructose that Marissa was talking about. So you can play around with that. Now, the thing is, you put it in whatever kind of container you want. And by the way, one of you is going to win one of these today. And since I don't have an assistant here, I'm probably not going to do it live, but I will let you all know later. Oh, that reminds me. Jen, can you do me a huge favor? Could everybody please write their name who's present? First and last name, so I know who's here. And then Jen, if you could please screenshot that or get that to me. Thank you so much. But yes, so once you have it in here, again, put it back in that dark place, right, where your other things are. And now, Marissa, this doesn't have to go as long, right? Like my experience is sometimes it can be ready in 3 days. Sometimes it depends. It's like a taste test, right?
Yeah, so in your house, it's probably done in a day.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was wondering why it didn't take very long.
Yeah, but and mine was done in about a day in the beginning of the summer, and now that we've been having cooler nights, it takes about 3 days. At least we like super happy fizzy kombucha, so yeah, we do about 3 days. And
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And this is a trick that I just learned. Marissa, maybe you knew this before, but because sometimes this is very contained, right? It freaked me out because I thought, it's not fizzing. It doesn't look like it's carbonated. Well, when you open it up, it's like, right? It's hysterical. So what they say, we learn from other people's mistakes, right? Put this in a bowl, and sometimes, most of the time, you will never, ever need this. Put this in a bowl and get a Ziploc bag and put it on top of it upside down. And with that Ziploc bag, you open it so that if it does fizz out, it just goes right into the bowl and you don't lose all of your precious kombucha, right? Yeah. So it'll just fizz up and then go down and go into the bowl.
Yeah.
So this one that I made, I can't wait to taste it. I've never done it before, but I found it on a recipe, is ginger, carrot, and I put orange juice. I put some orange juice with ginger and carrot. Sounds really good, doesn't it? So yeah, so then you're just on your way. So I always have a rotation. I have one, that's why I say it's not gonna hurt you to have a couple of these, if you get one or two, you're gonna need a few of these. I always have one that is in its infancy, that needs the 7 to 10 days to grow into some kombucha. That's the tea, right? Then I have this. This is mine. So this is, I don't know, can you see that? Yeah. So this is mine. Always label it. Always write on there what the date is. Believe me, I get so confused because they're different fermentations, different dates, right? So this is mine that's in its infancy, growing into kombucha right now, right? It's just tea and SCOBY, and it's growing. And I just started that like 3 or 4 days ago. This and all the rest of these are my second fermentation. So I even do it here because I had so much. And you can see some of the fruit on top. That's fruit that I put in it. This one is a mixed berry. I did mixed berries, and I just sometimes use frozen fruit. I thaw it and then I mash it. So I did mixed berries and apple juice. So let's see what that is. And then I put some, so I put some in here, and you can just play with that. So all of these things, here's my second fermentation, my first fermentation, here's my SCOBY that I'm growing, and then here's my SCOBY hotel. I need like a whole closet for my kombucha supplies. So
Are any of these refrigerated at any point?
thank you. I was just going to say that.
Oh, okay.
Once you get it, so like I'm probably going to open this today. I should do it with you, but yeah, because this has been 4 days, so I'm sure this is nice and fizzy. So once I get this to where I want it, I don't want it to keep going anymore. So that's when you refrigerate. Once you put it in the fridge, it stops the fermentation. So so that's when, like, I would put it in here, label everything, what kind, what day, and what kind it is, and then that's when I will just put it in the fridge. So I'll have a whole bunch of these just in the fridge waiting for me to drink.
Yes. Also, you might want to consider just putting it in the second fermentation, leaving it in the second fermentation bottles and putting it in the fridge, because it will lose a lot of its carbonation, excuse me, when you transfer it into another vessel from the second fermentation, if that makes sense.
Thank you so much. That makes so much sense. And I'm so glad you said that, because I had trouble. I did that the other day, and I put it in, I was having trouble with the transition, and I felt like I was losing something. That makes so much sense. But so even though, so I don't even have to open this right now. I can just say, I think it's ready. I'm going to put it in the fridge.
Yes.
But then when I take it out of the fridge, I do have to be careful that first time, right? It's still gonna.
Yes. So what you can do, so like in a hot home, you can burp it. So every day, if you know that you want to have it out for 3 days, you can burp it daily just to make sure it's not going to explode on you. But typically, it will tame when you put it in the fridge. So I've, knock on wood, I've never had one explode on me, but I do know people who have, and it's typically when it's too warm. So if you just finish the second fermentation and stick it in the fridge, I think it should be good.
Awesome. Well, that's pretty much the nuts and the bolts of it. Let's, anyone want to talk about it? Anyone have any thoughts, questions? This Kick-Ass Kombucha group, they have tons of recipes, but you can Google that. You can find them anywhere. And I'm sure Marissa has some of her favorites that maybe we can ask her to share within the group or something. And then, and I'm happy to share anything that I've done too.
I have a question.
Yes.
So go back to that very, very first container where you were pulling and you said it was like stuck together. I don't understand what that is. Sorry.
That's the SCOBY. That's the
thing
that I was showing you.
Yeah.
That's the SCOBY. That's what you need to make kombucha. You must have a SCOBY to make kombucha.
Wasn't the SCOBY the 7 cups of water, half a cup of raw sugar, and the 4 bags? You need that if you're going to make your own SCOBY. That's how to make your own SCOBY. You need, to make your own SCOBY, you need 7 cups of water, a half a cup of sugar, and 4 bags of tea. You're making sweet tea. And then you add 1 cup of already, you can do this. I had never, ever, ever done this before in my life. I always got my SCOBYs. But where are those? I mean, they look like packets of something in your original jar. What are those? I don't get it.
Those are here, let me wash my hands again. Hold on, I'm going to show you.
All right.
Oh, you're going to have so much fun. It's so much fun. Okay. All right. Can you guys, I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. I can bring it closer, but I just don't want to. Okay. So This is one SCOBY. This is my SCOBY hotel. This is where I keep all of my SCOBYs that I'm not using. Okay, this is one SCOBY. That's a SCOBY. Here's another SCOBY. See, that's another SCOBY. And then
Those look,
here's another SCOBY. There can be very funny looking. They're not all pretty and they're not all round. And also, well, I'll tell you about this in a minute. Depends how big your jar is. And it takes the shape of your jar. It takes the shape. See, look at this. This is very, very, very ugly. That's not even a circle. It's kind of like joined itself together. So, so hold on a minute. I'm going to show you. Okay, I'm going to get a little closer. Can you see?
so Sherry, you're saying that when you put this, the 7 cups of water and the half a cup of sugar and the 4 bags of tea and your the other, the cup of raw kombucha, it makes those funny looking things?
That's what I'm doing right here. Look, I did this 7 days ago. It's basically just tea and the kombucha in there. That's all it is. I was just doing it as an experiment, and I already have done this once and it worked. Have you ever made your own, Marissa?
No, I haven't. But so I wanted to ask, have
Yeah.
you ever, I'm sorry, I don't have the names of everyone on here, but the woman, Norma,
Yeah.
have you ever made yogurt or something else that's fermented where you add just, or like sourdough, or where you add just like a little bit of the last batch?
Years ago, but it's been like 40 years ago that I did.
So that's the same idea. So like what kombucha is a microbiome of, I'm sorry, that's my son in the background, of live bacteria. So
Right.
you are, by giving it sweet tea, which is sugar, you're feeding this bacteria, which is then going to this bacteria that's already in there is going to multiply and create a community, which is the SCOBY, if that makes sense. It's
So
it's so funny because I'm looking at this as you must be looking at it, and it's cracking me up because it does look like a giant booger.
I'm like, oh, gross, really?
Right. I know.
So-
Billy, my husband is like, what is that growing in our kitchen? Take it away.
Yeah, but so
you-
I actually bought mine from Fermentaholics, which is on Amazon. You can literally buy a SCOBY on Amazon, and
Absolutely.
it comes with the starter kombucha and the SCOBY itself. So all I had to do my first time was make sweet tea, and then add the whole packet to the vessel, and then it grew. So when you have a SCOBY already, which is what Sherry was showing you, it creates these layers, layer upon layer. Every time it's fermented, it creates another layer. So once you get going with this, you can actually gift your SCOBYs to locals.
Right. And
anyone
that's
want
right.
a SCOBY, and they'll just like, you'll just peel, because this SCOBY will get thicker and thicker and thicker, and you don't want it. Which also, Sherry, is like another thing. Your kombucha will ferment much faster the bigger your SCOBY is. So that can affect the tanginess of it. And so you want to have a kind of a, you want to have.
So that's kind of big and thick.
I can't tell, but yeah, if it's thicker than like half an inch, it's kind of thick. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
That's getting there.
That kind of looks like happy for that.
It's not that first one when I did
it. Yeah, I think that should be fine. But I was not wanting to separate my SCOBYs because I didn't have anywhere for them to go, and I also didn't want to like compost them. So, but it was fermenting it way too quickly. But anyway, yeah, it's layers upon layers of SCOBY.
So if you don't have anybody to give your SCOBYs to, and you're not using it that often, what do you do with these again?
You make a SCOBY hotel.
Oh.
Yeah, so I don't make SCOBY hotels, and I really should. But I mean, they have like SCOBY. You could do things with your SCOBY, but
Wait,
but also you could just get rid of what you're not using.
Right. There's all sorts of things. You can just throw them away, but they don't. Oh, that's so fun. I've never done any of these, but I want to. They tell you can make candy out of them. You can actually, like, it does involve sugar, which I'm not crazy about, but yeah, you can like put them in sugar and you can bake them. Oh, Marguerite's waving her hand. Okay.
Yeah, I got a question. So,
Yeah.
what do you mean by fermenting too fast? So,
What's wrong with that?
how is that a problem if it only takes 1 day instead of 7 days and it's like, okay, we're done? What does that mean? It's too fast.
Well, you just have to, well, Marissa, you can answer that if you want, but I mean, I think the point is you've got to know, you just have to learn how fast you ferment, because it's not that one is good or bad, it's just knowledge, so that you know when it gets to the point that it's either too sour or, you know, too fizzy or not enough.
Yeah, so exactly. So you kind of get on a rhythm. So for me, I have kombucha day. So every 7 days, it's really easy because I know that day I'll do kombucha, and I have 4 vessels of my second fermentation kombucha, and so then I know that I have a week to basically consume that kombucha. And so it's this rotation of knowing when you need to have those vessels emptied for the second fermentation to do again that process, and then also for my own schedule. But then also, kombucha is alive, so it's bacteria that needs to eat. So if it's fermenting too quickly, it could run out of sugar, and in that case, then it's not going to be healthy. Mom. That makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Yes, that was very helpful. There was something else you just, what else you can do with it. But yeah, and I have heard people like, you know, putting it outside as compost or something, but there's lots of funny things you can do with it. But really, it's great to gift people. And if any, I do have a lot, I've got some SCOBY in my SCOBY hotel. So if any of you need any, just let me know. But yeah. And before I knew better, I had, and maybe that's why mine was always very strong, but I didn't realize, like, I just kept them all in here for a long time. Like but that's what I was going to say, Norma. You see how big this container is? SCOBY, this SCOBY is like that big because it grows to be that big. Now this SCOBY is going to just be this. It's going to be a little round one, littler one, you know? So it's, they grow into the size of the jar and they all look different. Any other questions? I'm in my live class, honey.
I have a question.
Yes.
So have you discovered the ability to use oils, or?
I have. I'm still playing with it though, Marissa. I'm kind of new to it. One thing, well, yes, I use the ginger oil. I love using the ginger oil and the lemon oil. But tangerine, all of them. I mean, yes, it really flavors it nicely. I'm still playing with how much to add. To me, it's almost easier, and I don't know what you do, but to me, it's almost easier to just have the same batch. Like this week, I'm just doing this, just for my head. And it's easier to just, you know, group batch like that. But if I do, like this time I did do 2 different ones. I did the mixed berry one and then orange ginger. But yeah, so I'm still playing with how much oil I would need for each batch, but I have done that and it's delicious. And you know what else is really good? Ninja Red. Ninja Red, our antioxidant drink, in place of a fruit juice. It's a fruit, right? So That's going to be very yummy.
Are you
Yes, I'm
the
so
only
glad you
one that
asked.
drinks kombucha at your house, Sherry? Are you the only user of
am.
kombucha? Yeah.
I am. So yeah, so I like to gift it. You know, if I have friends come over, I always offer it. I usually have some extra in my house, but I like it. I drink a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else, my friends? Does everybody feel very ready to make their own batch?
I have
Yes.
another. I'm sorry, I'm just full of questions. Just clarifying.
Are we
So
learning?
go back to the, like those 2 bottles that are behind you that you said you were, so when, like you've got your 14 cups all ready to put into smaller containers maybe?
Mm-hmm. So you've already finished.
Right, but
This
Marissa
one, right?
said you lose some of the carbonation. I mean, if you lose a little bit of the carbonation and kind of rebottling it, are you losing some of the bacteria too, or some of the flavor? I mean, I'm trying to figure out when you get going on this, how you store all of this in your refrigerator.
Well, you're going to be drinking it, hopefully.
I know, but
Right.
even if you have 4 of those flip top bottle things, I mean, I'm just thinking about my refrigerator.
So you don't need to do 4. So 1 SCOBY is good for just one of those flip top bottles. So I always, like for me, I do 1 SCOBY for every 2 liters, which is like, we just did the math, is about half a gallon. So if you know that you'll drink only half a gallon a week, just stick
Right.
to 1 SCOBY and do what you're able to do, what you're able to store. Like there's no need, although I did say to my husband, I think I need a refrigerator for my kombucha. But don't do that if you don't want to. Like only do what you're going to drink. Like you don't obviously want to do too much. It's going to become a chore and you don't want to do that. It's not going to be enjoyable. And then you're going to be like forcing people to drink your kombucha. So just do what you need, like do what you can. And you only need 1 small SCOBY for about half a gallon. And if that's all that you're going to drink in that week, then just do that and just stick with that. So like each week you can add 1 more half gallon because you're going to have a thicker SCOBY that you can separate and multiply, but you do not have to do that if you don't want to.
All right.
Yeah, you don't have to make this big thing. And you don't, like Marissa said, you wouldn't even, I mean, you do need at least, I think, I'll just show you because I told you I would. I don't think you guys want this now, but I put it in the event that you would get a copy of this, but I don't know that you really need a copy, but I just think it's so beautiful. It's my daughter's artwork. And she gave this to me, I guess maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. And I'm going to read it to you because it's cute. She says, "Happy birthday, Mommy." This is what she gave me for my birthday. "Here's your very own kombucha baby. I prayed over it for an hour so you can't kill it. Here's what you need to know." Okay, so this is what she says. The first fermentation process, she talks about when you get it into a new home. Well, she says it needs to sit. But then she says, just to add, it's kind of like what this woman said to make your SCOBY. She says 6 to 7 cups of water. So that's hardly any, and then 4 to 6 tea bags and a half a cup of sugar. So that's a very small amount. I have never made that small of amount. I always just at least double it. I usually quadruple. But you could just make that. You could just put in, 7 cups of water. And I think that would be, I think you'd very much be able to get through that in a week because that's not even 1 bottle a day.
Right.
Kara. Oh, Kara and Marguerite. Kara, go ahead.
Okay, so you have your SCOBY that you're using to make your kombucha with. Now, does it duplicate itself? Does it grow bigger as it goes on, as you add more water and then you pour that off in your kombucha? So how old, when do you, how long does a SCOBY live? Like when do you need to replace it?
I didn't replace mine. I don't know. Marissa, do you have to replace it if it looks healthy?
No, so I've heard that like your SCOBY can get old but that's not happened to me. So you can, when you start making kombucha, you can really realize like what a healthy SCOBY looks like. There are some that will get spots on them, and you can, there's pictures out there that will give you an idea of what is healthy or okay and normal, and then what's not, and what you'll have to discard. But no, I have not reached the lifespan of my SCOBY yet, and I'm not sure if there is one. That's a good question, but I don't know. I've been doing this, I don't know for how long now. I guess I haven't reached
read anywhere.
No,
really.
Neither.
People just say they use it over and over until, like, if it gets moldy or if it gets bad, like Marissa said, you'll know.
Yeah, I think you would more likely just run into an unhealthy situation as opposed to it actually being the end of the life of your SCOBY. Like, I'm thinking that there's more atmospheric things that will cause the death of a SCOBY as opposed to your SCOBY being the death of itself. And also to note that, did you talk about filtered water being
No. Go ahead.
Yeah, so you definitely do not want to use tap water. You want to use very highly filtered water. I use a Berkey filter for where I get my water, but it's a carbon filtered water, and so that makes a big difference, because if you have bacteria or things that are in your water initially, you will end up growing that bacteria, which is kind of frightening. But like, I mean, it sounds scarier than it is, but you definitely want to start with good, clean water. No tap water.
The boiling of the water does not kill any of that bacteria when you're making the tea?
So, well, that's interesting. So you could use, it would essentially be distilled water, but they've always started with filtered water to boil it. So for me, when I do my tea, I only boil actually 5 cups of water.
Oh, thank you.
And then I add the bags to that, the way that you would sweet tea for all this. I'm from New Jersey, so I had someone from South Carolina teach me how to make sweet tea, and so this is how she did it. But she would add ice to make it instantly ice, right? So for us, we don't want ice water. We want like between that 75 and 82 degrees. So I would just add room temperature water to that. I do know people who will boil all 14 cups of water, but then it has to sit like for half a day to cool down. So I don't do that. I just boil 5 cups, and then I use 10 bags. So I do 5 cups, 10 bags, and I do 2.5 cups of sugar for that, because then I'm separating it amongst a bunch of vessels. But yeah, so so it's like 5 cups of water that I boil, 2.5 cups of sugar, and then I have like 6, how much is that?
18.
24. So 24 cups of water plus the 5 cups of boiled water, and then the kombucha that I add to that. So that's like over 30 cups of kombucha by the end. So
you make a large batch too.
It is a large batch. It's like, well, I guess it would be 2 gallons I do each time.
Yeah. But yes, I'm so glad you said that, Marissa, because I've started doing that too. I very quickly learned that I don't have the patience to wait for that to get to room temperature. But I actually only put like 2 to 3 cups of water in to boil. And then I turn it off and I just add the tea bag.
Yeah, and it does depend on, at first I was doing, I think, only 2.5 cups of water because I didn't have as much. But once I increased my amount that I was making, like my end amount, I obviously needed to increase the amount, because only a certain amount of sugar water is only going to dissolve a certain amount of sugar. So I had to increase that. But I think like 2-to-1 is a good ratio of water to sugar, if whatever you're boiling to. So like if you're only using 1 cup of water, using only 1 cup, of sugar. Using 2 cups of water is okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I know it's kind of confusing. It's kind of confusing, but once you get into your rhythm, it's actually really easy. It becomes like a second nature.
Did that answer your question, Kara? Did it? Okay.
Yeah, it sounds like once, like the first couple run throughs, it'll, you know, be a little, right, takes getting used to, and probably more practice it'll be easier after we make several batches, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's great to see you, Marissa, by the way. This is one of my old, I'm not that old, but our kids are only 6 years old, our oldest kids, but we're old friends from Savannah when our kids were babies together. And it's so good to see you.
I know.
Thank you for being here.
Of course, I know. I'm sorry I'm late.
I'm so glad you're here. I know. But yes, and I have found that, because see, I couldn't even remember. I had Christy's, my daughter's SCOBY forever, and then, you know, of course it peeled off, and I would keep more of the fresher, newer ones in there. But I think your SCOBY starts becoming, it makes its own home, right? So like at the beginning, like you're saying, Jen, at the beginning, everyone is new to this, including your SCOBY. So I think the more fermentations you do with it, you're going to develop, you might taste a difference, like in your very first batch and then like your 5th batch. But once you get to a certain point, you're going to find that you have developed your own flavor, if you know what I mean. Because the SCOBY does have to kind of make its home in it. It's still going to be good, and it's still going to be kombucha, but I have found with this new SCOBY that I started just like a month ago, that it has been transforming each batch. It tastes a little bit different. Marguerite.
Hey, so I have a question. So let's say, so I'm going to make my SCOBY, and I'll be making batches, and everything's going fine. And then let's say I want to go on vacation. Put the SCOBY in the refrigerator to like tell it to stop fermenting until I come back and take it out of the refrigerator.
You never put your SCOBY in the fridge, right, Marissa? Is that true?
Right.
Right. But it can sit, that's the amazing thing. Go ahead, Marissa, why don't you answer that? Because I've got something right here that I was going to look up. Go ahead.
So you can make what they call a SCOBY hotel, which is essentially just kombucha that you do not plan to drink. So it's sweet tea. It starts as sweet tea, and it's kombucha, but you don't want to drink your SCOBY hotel. So like, it's just going to feed it and keep it alive as while you're away. And then what you would just do is just pick it up from where you were, but you want to keep it healthy. So you want to make sure that it's got enough sugar to eat while you're gone. So maybe like twice, if you're going to be gone for 2 weeks, maybe like twice as much sugar as you would otherwise. But I'm not sure if that answers the question.
Yeah, so basically going too cold will kill it or make it unhealthy. Is that what I'm getting?
Yeah.
Okay,
well,
and then and then a different question. Going back about boiling the water to make the original tea and not wanting to boil it all because it takes too long to cool down. I was just wondering if maybe boiling the water was just as much about killing any germs that might be in the water before you get started.
Right. Well, that's what I was asking Marissa, if she thought that would count. But
yeah, so
kind of filtered, right? Or
yes. So now for me, I have confidence in my water filter. I like that it maintains some of the minerals in my water. When you go through that boiling process, it's not, I don't know, it's like almost distilled to me, and I don't know, I feel like it loses a lot of its good properties. I don't know if that makes sense, and I'm not a scientist. So, but I do know people that that will just boil it all, and I think that that's totally fine. But I would still suggest starting with filtered water. Yeah, so like if you look at the recipes, they almost always say to start with filtered water. Some will say they boil all of the water. Actually, my sister-in-law who taught me, she boiled all of her water. For me, I kind of thought it was time that I didn't have. And also I was confident in my filter. If you're not confident in your filter, then I would definitely boil the water, all of it.
Yeah, I also actually have a Berkey water filter,
Oh.
and I also have the optional fluoride filters that go with it. So I take out the fluoride as well.
Oh, good.
Great. I have never bought any special kind of water, but I just use my refrigerator filter. That's all I do, you know. It's always seemed to be okay, and I haven't gotten sick. About the storage, what I'm reading here is, first of all, kind of like what Marissa said, if it's just going to be like a week or so, you don't even have to think about it, right? Because that's normal. Short-term SCOBY storage, 2 to 6 weeks, feed it and leave it. When you come back, it will be very acidic and vinegary. And like Marissa said, you're not going to want to use that. Although I was under the impression that you could take a little bit. Oh, and also in my SCOBY hotel, I will take some of that as it sits. I will take some of that out each time, some of the liquid out each time, and then add some new liquid to it just to kind of, so it doesn't get all really, really acidic. But yeah, it's going to be very vinegary, but I think that you can probably use a little bit of that as a starter. Couldn't you, Marissa? Could you put some of that into a new?
Yeah, you can. So actually one time when I first started, I forgot to set aside some of my first fermentation kombucha to add to the next batch. And so what you actually can do is use distilled white vinegar. It's only a tablespoon or so. And that will, so what that starter kombucha is doing is creating like the perfect pH for the SCOBY to continue to like live and thrive. So the distilled white vinegar will do the same thing as that kombucha, that 1 cup or whatever. What do you do? What is you do? Was it 2 cups for each one? I do 1 cup of the kombucha for
make the SCOBY, or wait,
to do your next batch. I save.
Oh, I do too. Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, just 1 cup I do. So, but when I was looking, I was like, oh my gosh, now what am I gonna do? And I looked it up, and just a tablespoon of distilled white vinegar will do the same thing for the pH of the tea.
Okay.
But so yeah, I'm guessing that's what it would be similar to. If it's like super vinegary, it would probably be the same kind of a job.
And,
you know?
and they do say that you can, like, for 6 to 12 weeks, you can still leave it, but it does need occasional feedings.
Yeah.
So, you know, kind of what
like
I was saying, drain a little bit off, right, and put a little new on. So yeah. And it said, do not refrigerate your SCOBY, and do not let your SCOBY climb out. So sometimes in a SCOBY hotel, your SCOBY, I know it's hysterical. Your SCOBY gets very tall, and you want to make sure that your liquid covers your SCOBY. Don't let the SCOBY come up above the liquid. You know, you want it to be covered and protected. Oh, I know what I wanted to touch on. You mentioned white vinegar, and I'm so glad you said that, because white vinegar is just such a great overall, you know, bacteria killing type of thing to keep in mind. Christy actually told me to get a spray bottle of white vinegar and just occasionally just spray the top, right? Like maybe every 2 or 3 days. Now, I'm not really religious about it. I don't do that all the time, but you can, just to keep everything clean. And then also when you're cleaning out, like in between, like when I'm done with this, I want to empty it each time. I want to empty it. And I want to clean it out, and I want to put some white vinegar in it and swirl it around, and then put some boiling hot water in it and swirl it around. And that kind of like will get it to a neutral place. So that white vinegar is very helpful.
Yeah, they actually say to do that instead of soap, you would want to use vinegar. So I actually do that with my my flip top bottles because I mean, cleaning those, like what are you going to do with that anyway? So I just do super hot water to rinse them out. And then right before I put stuff in them, I fill the bottom with some vinegar and just swish it all around really well and then dump it. And I feel like that just kind of sets the.
You rinse it after the vinegar, or you just leave it?
You know, I don't, because the vinegar, it actually, I mean, the kombucha likes the vinegar. So yeah, so I don't, but I guess you can. Yeah, there's no harm.
Awesome. All right. Well, I have learned a lot. I hope you guys have too. Please make sure that you have signed in, and so that I have your names. And if you want to put your, and if we're not friends on Facebook, then find me and friend me, or give me your email address or some way that I can reach out to you and give you all this fun stuff. And I'm going to put all your names in a hat, and one of you will win a brand new one of these fermentation bottles. Because when I ordered mine, I got 12. So I got plenty to share. So, Marissa, I'm so glad you came. Thank you so much. It's been so helpful having you here.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm sorry I had to pop on late. Justin got home for the first time yesterday for the month. And so we've kind of been like soaking up some time.
Oh, definitely. Oh my gosh. Thank you for taking time out of your busy family life to join us. This was so great that you were here. Thank you both, Sherry and Melissa, so much.
Sure thing. And Jen,
I have everybody's name. Everybody's name except Galaxy S8. I don't know whose name that is, but I have everybody's name except. So if Galaxy S8, if you're still.
Galaxy SA is me, Cheryl Twickler.
Oh, are you on different
Galaxy Tab? I thought you were Galaxy Tab A.
I might have been. I kept doing all kinds of things to try to get in. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I got your name. I got your name, Cheryl. Okay, maybe you had. Okay, great, good.
All right.
Great. Perfect. Oh, good. All right, guys. Thank you so much for coming. I'm just going to do another little commercial here that every Thursday night at 7 p.m. we have a wonderful new to oils class, and it takes shape of whoever is there. If you're brand spanking new, we talk about what they are and all the fun things. If you're not so new and you just have questions, we can do that too. So it's been really fun just showing up every Thursday and seeing who shows up. So please feel free. It's on the Oily Tribe. It's also on my personal Facebook page. But if any of you don't have access to either of those, I'm happy to shoot you. It's the same Zoom. Actually, it's the same address as you came here.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, it's the same one as this one, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you have the invitation for this, then you can just copy that into your calendar and come to this exact same place any Thursday. And we've got lots of fun stuff going on in October. You know, of course, let's see, I think it's the 17th, right? Jen will help me remember this, and Norma too, and Kara too. Kara's at the meeting. I think it's October 17th is our holiday launch, which is initiated by Young Living. It's a corporate event, and it's gonna be really fun. You don't want to miss that, because they're gonna tell us everything that is happening for the holiday, all the great new products and things like that. And then right after that, well, maybe an hour or so after, we're going to come together as just a community, a smaller community, and just talk about it and all the things that went on, and just have a little community building event then. And then the next week, we will be doing brews and potions class, because it will be the week before Halloween. And that'll be lots of recipes and fun things that you can do with your oils, witchy brews and stuff like that. So that'll be fun. And I'm forgetting something. Oh, I'm going to be doing a Savvy Minerals class online. Never done that before. it's going to be interesting. But I have not determined that date yet, but stay tuned. There will be a Savvy Minerals class in October. And I think that's it. Is that right, Jen? Did I get everything, Kara? Is that all we talked about? Okay.
Yeah, I know the 17th and 24th. Those
the
holiday
big
lunch
ones.
and the brews and potions are those are the right ones.
Okay, perfect, perfect. So we're adding a Savvy Minerals in there, and of course the new 2 oils class every Thursday night at 7. Okay, so would love to see you guys again. Thank you so much for your time, and I go make your kombucha. Hey, I want to hear all about your kombucha making. Let's keep in touch. I want you guys to post in the event if you have access to it, and tell us and do pictures with your SCOBY and all that stuff. I think it's fascinating. That'll be great. All right, guys.
I can't wait. I'm excited.
Oh, okay.
Thank you so much. This has been great.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Sherry.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Amy.